and add only what we are sure we need to close the achievement gap. That's what they were instructed. On January 5th, we did an all-day event where the budget subcommittee, 2 members of the school board, we had 2 members of the FinCom, and all of the directors sat through a full day where all the principals came forward saying, telling us something about their buildings and the number of staff that they're in charge of and why they need what they've asked for. Tonight is the first time that the entire school board and for the camera, the budget in its entirety is seen. And in this same auditorium on the 19th, we will have a public hearing, and then we will listen to all of that feedback, and we will come back on the 26th, where we will ask the school board to take a vote on the budget. And by February 1st, the town administrator will have a memorandum from us. Okay, what am I going to try to communicate tonight? The money we have requested is needed to close the achievement gap between Wareham's children and the state's average. Wareham has been funded below the state average spending for many years. And where will the dollars go? So there's actually 3 parts to the presentation. The chart in front of you, the top 2 lines, the purple line is the state of Massachusetts and all of the children and state average in achievement for English language arts. And in 2010, the CPI was 86.9, Wareham is 84.5. Now, one can look at that and say, well, it's only 2.5 below in the average. But the gap between the achievement has stayed consistent from 2005. And if we had it from the beginning of the MCAS, you would see that yes, we have grown in achievement, but the gap has remained. Mathematics, the red line is the state average. The goldenrod, or yellow, is Wareham. We have 5.4% difference, or CPI points difference, between Wareham and the state. We've increased, and in fact, we've narrowed the gap, but the gap remains. Now, have we tried to do new programs? Yes. Last year, we brought in a brand new math curriculum, starting down at the elementary, grade 1 through 5. Next year, we hope that that program will go into grade 6. We bought over $100,000 worth of books for that program. And the only reason we were able to afford it and were able to put it in is because of federal stimulus money. So if you can kind of keep that in mind, that is the achievement gap. How to eliminate the achievement gap? I am proposing some new programs. One of them is called RTI, which is called Response to Intervention. Why haven't we put it in fully before? Because it's costly. You need interventionists, people, extra teachers to be in the classroom, so when a student has an issue with a concept, there is someone there to remediate them and to give them a second dose of instruction, so to speak. Also implementing an enhanced supervision and instructional leadership program. We have, over the last year and a half, been meeting in a combined labor management committee, coming up with a different evaluation system One where we have supervisors that have a responsibility for approximately 10 people that they will monitor on a regular basis, be in classrooms, be able to work with our staff to help them do the best job that they can. At Wareham High School, there is going to be a mass core curriculum. That is something that the federal government has passed, the state of Massachusetts has passed, and now where most of our children had 3 years of mathematics in high school, they now have to have 4 years of math. Where they had 2 years of the lab science, they have to have 3 years of the lab science. And there are specific other courses that they have to take another 8 credits or 8 courses in that they prescribe. What that means is we have to have additional staff. Spending alone, because, you know, I've heard it, you've heard it, spending alone isn't going to decrease that achievement gap. But when we look at the gap in spending and the fact that it mirrors the gap in achievement, what it says to me is that we can't keep doing the same things we have been doing. Because if we do, we're going to get the same results. All right, Wareham versus the state net school spending. Virus. The reason this starts in 1993, that is the beginning of educational reform in Massachusetts. That's when it was passed. We have 3 columns: Wareham, the state, and the difference. So, starting in '94, the state came up with a number that was the minimum amount that it was legal to spend on education. Wareham actually spent 2.7% less than that, and the state spent 2.6 above. And that state, that's the average spending. If you took every single community, the amount of money that they spent, that's the percent over minimum net. The following year, we're at 3, they're at 2.8. Then we look at 97 as where we have a period of time where things really got bad, and we're all in the negative, and they're in the positive. And it just continues like that until we get to 2007. We go 1% above minimum net spending. The state is at 13% above. 08, 1.9, the state is at 14.3. 09, we have 3.14, Wareham, 16.2 for the state. And in 10, we spent 2% above minimum net. The state is at 14.6. And the last column shows the difference between those numbers. So if we take the red line as the state, and that is the percent above minimum net spending, and then if we look at the blue and we see Wareham, you can see the gap between what is spent as the state average spending above minimum net and what Wareham has spent above the minimum net. Notice the gap here, and notice the gap in achievement. If Wareham spent at the state average above minimum net spending in fiscal 2010, that would have been worth $2,787,000 more than what we had to spend, just to be at the state average. And in fact, from '03 to 10, every year would have been more than $2 million. Every year. Now I'll try to explain where the dollars that we're asking for are planned to go at this particular time. I believe I passed out to you, there is a one-page document that is called the Wareham School Department FY12 budget. It's a one-page that is the full budget. And along the side, you'll see the categories, the major category areas that I believe you're going to see in the next slide. Yes. So, and these are the areas that are that make up net school spending. We have district leadership and administration, instructional services, student services, operations and maintenance, insurance and retirement, leases, and payments to other districts. Now, this is it's one page, there's a lot of numbers on it, but the two large areas of increase are in instructional services, $1,663,430, and payments to other districts, $359,829 increase. Those large areas are shown on the pie chart. Instructional services, 77% of the budget. If you then take in the out-of-district placements, the $1,905,000 or 7%, now you have instructional services plus out-of-district go to make up 84% of the budget. If we then add in operations and maintenance to keep the buildings running and to heat them and to make sure we have light and water and so forth, we add another 10%, and now we're at 94% of the budget. Student services is also part of special education, but it covers more than that. It also covers nursing and so forth, other health-related things, which is 2% of the budget. We have leases, which are 1%, which is actually all for copier leases, which run in all of the buildings. So again, that's the one page done into a pie chart. Why a large increase to this year's budget? Loss of federal stimulus money. Well, the question can be asked, why did you use the stimulus money? Well, the federal government said that foundation budget, which was at a level, and the amount of funding that we received was below that by a certain amount of money. So the federal government made up the difference between the minimum net spending and foundation by giving the school system, in fact, one grant. It's in 3 separate pockets. You'll hear me say stimulus money. You'll hear it called ARA. It's all the same, except it's in 3 pockets. We received from the state something called SFSF, which was the stimulus funding. We received IDEA, which was specifically for special education, ARA, and we received Title I, ARA, for additional Title I programs. And the new positions, or the positions that we were able to retain, so that we didn't have to lay people off. Now with that money gone, in the FY12 budget, that's $741,000 worth of positions. that you will not find in the general budget from 11 because they were paid for by federal grant money. The program of having these additional supervisors to work in our schools with our teachers is part of the evaluation and observation is